Join us at Women of Courage and celebrate the achievements of women. Before we begin, we're going to take a few moments to collect ourselves and to relax before we engage into our discussion. What we need to do is to focus now on bringing positive energy into our lives and into the world. The energy that we project every day is the same energy that we get back. We have all seen those people that can walk into a room and they glow. People want to be around them. People feel better being in their presence. That's the energy that we need to create. And once we learn how to do this, our lives will be filled with greatness. We will attract that positive energy. And how we can do this is by changing our outlook, meeting every day with gratitude, thankfulness, optimism, and once you do this, you will see a change in yourself. I want you to take a moment and close your eyes. Think about everything positive in your life: family, friends, a career, your faith. All of this is how you start your day. Every morning when you wake up, I want you to think about what is positive in your life. I want you to list 10 reasons why your life is amazing. You will see the change. You will be changed. You will begin to attract life's blessings. Lead with gratitude. Be thankful and think positive. Hello, this is the Women of Courage show, and I am Gloria Lee, your host. For the most part, almost all of our broadcasts are dedicated to trying to get men and women to focus their attention to changing their behavior to live a better life. You must understand your change is essential to the well being and survival of your children. We want children to avoid the profession of prostitution and living a life in prison. When you change, you will see the possibilities available to you. You do not have to continue to live a life that you hate and a life that you are truly ashamed of. Poverty does not have to define you. Let your strength and perseverance define you. You can listen to us at home, in your car, or at work on your lunch hour. It is essential that you get a daily dose of encouragement every day. Just a few minutes a day of listening to us can make learning effortless. You can even listen to us while you're preparing dinner or just as you are about to fall asleep. We want you to fit our broadcast into your day. This is why we put all of our broadcasts on the YouTube channel Touched by the Light Publishing. Our goal is to inspire you to greatness. So give Women of Courage a listen to throughout the week, and please support us by purchasing a book today from our website, touchedbythelight.us. Thank you. The Women of Courage show is brought to you by the Women and Children's Restoration Ministries. The Ministries is a reading ministry. We believe the world becomes alive when it is explained through reading. Thus, our presentation to you today. All of our efforts are toward demonstrating that when women work together, they win. Yet women cannot win without knowledge and power. Neither of these abilities can come without reading. Power is the ability to make things happen, to move things, or to bring about a particular event. Knowledge is power and education is power. Without either, a person is ineffective to bring about a particular event. Without violence, power is never given, it is always taken. Our attempt to take power has to be without violence because of our lack of testosterone. Consequently, women must learn how to take power and learn how to manage it without mimicking men. The only way we can accomplish any of this is to gain knowledge through reading. You may think that you are too busy to read, but you need the information that I have accumulated for you. You are an integral part of our effort. We are trying to reach the women who have given up, the adulteress, the whore, the woman who does not believe, the woman who's contemplating suicide, the woman who wakes in the morning hating her husband, the woman who screams at her children, the woman who has lost her home, the woman who has failed at school, or the woman who is bitter over her divorce. I am looking for the betrayed, the adulteress, the whore, and the downtrodden. I am looking for the woman who wants to fight back but does not know how to fight. I want them to know that the battle is not over. Failure is just another way of standing up. I am trying to reach these women because I want to try and save their lives. Now to the video of why you are here. We present the video. Reading is one of the most important activities that a person can participate in. A world of information is available to you. This information can help you shape and change not only your life, but the lives of your children and spouse. Visit the website touchedbythelight.us and find yourself a book to read. For more information, you can email us at murderedvoices@gmail.com. Reading is defined as the accumulation of knowledge. Reading is one of the processes by which human beings gather information for conducting their lives, which includes working and recreating. When this process is inhibited for whatever reason, the person cannot conduct his or her life successfully. The person meets with bad results. When a person cannot read or does not read well, or she will live the life of a beggar, a cheat, a liar, or will end up in prison or the grave. They will never receive what God had in store for them. Reading is the most important human activity any man can participate in. When you ignore reading, you will have actually cut yourself off from other people around you. Our prisons are filled with people who do not know how to read. Our graveyards are filled with people who did not know how to read. You are not successful today because you cannot read or refuse to read. You continue to think you can conduct your life on the information you learned in high school. Your life is in ruin because you cannot read or do not read. Many of your children are in prison today because you did not read to them or teach them to read or teach them the importance of reading. Many of your children are dead because you did not read to them or teach them to read or teach them the importance of reading. Reading teaches discipline. Reading will tell you about another man's courage. Reading will tell you how to correct some of the mistakes in your life. Reading will help you solve some of life's problems. Reading will teach you how to find a job. Reading can help you learn a profession or a trade. Reading will help you improve your health. When you do not read, you depend on hitting the numbers to get you ahead in life. You turn to gambling thinking that if you wager enough money in a casino, that will help you survive. When you do not read, you go to the casino and wager your life savings trying to win big at the casino. When you do not read, you depend on prostituting yourself to get money. Try to attract a man with your butt or your breast size just to get money. When you do not read, you will go around the community looking for free food, free clothes, anything free that will help you. When you do not read, you bring men into your home who do not belong there, telling your children to call him daddy. When you do not read or cannot read, you are walking around with no understanding of life. Let me say this again. When you do not read or cannot read, you are walking around without an understanding of life, and you will meet with poor results. You will not pay your bills correctly. You will not purchase the right car. You will not know how to purchase a home. You will not know how to complete your income tax. You will waste money at the bar. You will purchase cheap items to booster your self-esteem. You will live in a poor neighborhood. You will not have a savings account. You will pay money for goods and services. You will pay more money for goods and services. You will be at the mercy of your fellow man. Your children may or may not go to college. Many of your girls will become pregnant and never graduate from high school. You will suffer from many illnesses brought on because of a poor diet or poor eating habits or tradition. You will become more and more adamant and shun change, all because you do not have knowledge, whereas you can obtain this knowledge through reading. Hear me well, you are failing in life because you cannot read, or you refuse to read, or you refuse to learn to read competently. When you shun knowledge, you remain in the darkness. You will never reach the light, and you will never see God. Your salvation depends on your ability to read. At this juncture, I'm going to introduce some information on reading. This is extremely important. Reading will determine the consequences of your life. Reading will help you learn how to deal with the problems of low self esteem. Reading will help you learn a new profession. Reading will help you learn how to deal with other people. I have discussed reading on several of my shows. I made these discussions because I believe reading is important. I think reading is a fundamental function in life. I truly believe the more one reads, the greater the life a person can potentially have. This is why I'm going to discuss reading again. I do not think I can talk enough about reading. Reading is one of the most important activities that a person can participate in. A world of information is available to you when you read. This information can help you shape and change your life. Reading can instruct you on how to conduct a conversation at an embassy, how to talk to people that you do not know, how to talk to people about everyday subjects that they would enjoy. Reading can help you learn how to fish. Reading can help you learn how to solve math problems. Reading can help you learn a new profession. Reading can help you learn how to eat better, how to meet people, how to select a hobby. The field is endless to what reading can offer you. What I want to do today is to help you to develop a conviction for reading. Let's explore the word conviction. The word conviction is a noun. The word conviction has two meanings. One is a formal declaration that someone is guilty of a criminal offense made by the verdict of a jury or the decision of a judge in a court of law. For example, one can say in a sentence, she had a previous conviction for a similar offense. So in this situation, we know we're talking about someone that is a felon. The second meaning for the word conviction is a firmly held belief or an opinion. This is the meaning that we are going to consider today. Think about a firmly held belief or an opinion. Religion is a firmly held conviction. What we want to do today is to develop a firmly held conviction that reading can change our lives. Therefore, we should read every day. I'm going to try to prove to you today that if you begin a lifetime of reading, these efforts will change your life forever, and that your efforts in reading will impact your family more than you can imagine. Because when your children see you read, they will learn the value of reading from your behavior. Studies have shown that the third grade is the tipping point for future success as a learner and a member of society. Up to the third grade, we learn to read. After the third grade, we read to learn. If this critical skill is not mastered by age 8, people not only fall behind in school, they fall behind in life. And the proof of that is in our prison system. Our prisoners are filled with people who do not know how to read. The men in prisons are fathers, sons, and brothers needed in our homes. The women that are in prison are the mothers and daughters and sisters that are needed in the home. Reading will restore men and women. Reading will restore families, and reading will heal the wounds caused by the inability to read. Reading is not a simple behavior. Reading is intricate in formulating how you want to live your life. When you cannot read, you will not pay your bills correctly. You will not buy the right car. You will not know how to purchase a home. You will not know how to complete your income tax. You will waste money in bars. You will purchase cheap items to bolster your self esteem. You will live in a poor neighborhood. You will not have a savings account or checking account because you don't know how to manage banking and checking accounts. You will pay more money for goods and services. You will be at the mercy of your fellow man. Your children may or may not go to college. Many of the girls will become pregnant and never graduate from high school. You will suffer with many illnesses brought on because of a poor diet or poor eating habits and tradition. You will become more and more adamant and shun change, all because you do not have the knowledge you need from reading. The Women of Courage show is dedicated to improving the lives of people we serve. This is why we have designed the Wall Project to provide books for people in prison. The purpose of this program is to try and rehabilitate prisoners before they are paroled. We want to change the way that they think, and books can help do that. The reason why so many men and women end up in prison is because they are ill prepared to assume the responsibility of adulthood, and they cannot read. They are illiterate. Because of their illiteracy, they cannot find jobs or express themselves without violence. Once rejected from the job market, they turn to crime to make a living, and they turn to drugs to bolster their self esteem. If the men and the women in prison are not rehabilitated while in prison, when they are paroled, they will not be able to compete in the job market, and they will repeat the same behavior. People will be killed on the streets, homes will be broken into, and elderly women will be murdered in their beds. Now imagine you are a student in school and you have been assigned to give a speech before your class. You've never given a speech before, so what do you do? Do you sit and fret about giving the speech, or do you seek information that will tell you how to give that speech? If you are smart, you will go to the library and ask a librarian if she can give you some good books on how to give a speech. Whether you are a student in school or an adult at work or in your community, there are times in our lives when we are asked or told to give a speech. There is no way out of it. No matter how you feel about it, You have the assignment and you have to do it. This probably wouldn't be a problem except for the fact that public speaking is the number one fear of most people. However, you feel about doing this task, reading a book on how to give a speech can be life changing. Reading a book about giving a speech that can make your task easier and your life easier, more comfortable, and less stressful if you follow the experience of the author. To seek the advice of a librarian, you learn that reading can help you out of your problem, that reading can give you the solution to some of the problems that you are experiencing in life. Now, here is another example of the consequences of reading. Imagine it is around 1938 or 1939 in Germany. A book was written that changed the lives of 80 million people. Let me say this again. There was a book written in Germany that ended up changing the lives of 80 million people. A man in Germany wrote a book in 1937. The book he wrote changed the lives of millions of people all around the world, every ethnic group. The man's name was General Heinz Wilhelm, last name spelled Guderian. He was a military theorist. The title of the book that he wrote was ACHTUNG. I would say that it's translated as the word attention. Now, the book was not a bestseller, but it caught the attention of one man in Germany. That man was Hitler. Hitler was just coming to power in Germany, and he had made up his mind that he wanted to invade Poland and Czechoslovakia. And he was trying to figure out how he could do it successfully. And this book gave him the idea of how to conquer these two countries. What a book for Hitler to read. Hitler learned to use the airplane for artillery. The book also gave Hitler the idea of how to use tanks, how to keep tanks that were in constant communication with one another via a radio. This had never been done in warfare. Although France had the superior tank, the tanks were not managed the way that Hitler decided to manage them. Hitler developed the Panzer unit as a superior fighting force, and he did this by studying the attack techniques described in the book. The information written in the book by this general changed military history forever. If Hitler had not read this book, the course of human history would have been much, much different. Think of all the changes in the world that have taken place because some man or woman read a particular book that spurred them on to invent a new way of doing something, or a new invention like the wash machine or the elevator or the fire hydrant. So far, we have discussed how reading affects people in their daily lives, how reading affects people that commit crimes, and how reading affects people experiencing a social upheaval. Now we need to decide how reading is going to affect you. I am going to pause for a second to take a short break while you listen to information regarding willpower and encouragement. It is all a matter of learning new behaviors. And please remember, it is easier to build strong minds than to repair injured people. What I said is a modification of a quote by Frederick Douglass. He said, "It is easier to build strong children than to repair broken men." Now, The Women and Children's Restoration Ministry is a reading ministry founded on the principle that if one reads, one can manage his or her life successfully. The benefit of reading is enlightenment. Reading brings about self awareness, and reading teaches one to problem solve, even if the problem is managing one's emotions. We advocate that people read all of their lives. We believe reading opens the door to possibilities and shows a person how to tap into his or her imagination as others have done before them. Reading is also a way out of poverty and ignorance. Poor children are overwhelmed at birth, especially black male children. Since the dissolution of the black family, 85% of black children are raised by women who are poorly trained and ill suited to be parents. You are ill suited to be a parent if you refuse to take time to read to your child or read for yourself. You are ill suited to be a parent when you stick your child in front of a television or video game so he or she will be out of your hair. You are ill suited to be a parent when you continue to bring non related males into your home straight from the bar just because the man winked at you. You are ill suited to be a parent if you teach your daughter that all she has to do in life is to put her buttocks and breasts out to attract a man. And you are surely ill suited to be a parent when all you think about is walking around, allowing your derriere to flop in the wind, thinking your buttocks is going to attract some man. Our children are surrounded by people living by tradition instead of living by creativity and hope. Black children are not supported at home to read. Black children are not being taught to value reading. There are black homes where there is not one book in the house. The children do not even receive a book for a present. Black children are not being given a chance to stand up and bat because they are being defeated in the crib. Black Americans are not advancing because they do not read. If you can't read, wear it or drink it, many blacks are not interested. How many bookstores are in your neighborhood? How many books have you read this year? How many conversations do you have with people about a book that you read? There is a saying that has been repeated throughout generations. If you want to hide something from a black man, put it in a book. This saying is disgusting. Lack of knowledge is why black people get duped in business, why black women lack self-esteem and easily participate in sexual sin. Many black people cannot read an insurance policy or a purchase agreement. Our young men cannot receive training because they cannot read. They cannot take an exam for a driver's license because they cannot read. And what do? Nothing. Oh, we talk. Talk is easy. It makes one look intelligent. The telling point is there is no action behind the talking. The lack of self-knowledge is why we sell our bodies, why we think having a big butt makes us attractive. And once we get a clipboard and an ink pen, we think we're better than the next black woman. Reading will stop you from acting a fool on your job. Reading will make you think twice before screwing your best girlfriend's husband. Reading will not only teach you about jealousy, envy, and greed, it will teach you the consequences of these emotions. It is incumbent on us all to do something about this problem, lest we face one of these uneducated men breaking into our homes, because surely violence is associated with the lack of education. Once a child is born, every decision made by the mother affects that child, including the toothpaste that you purchase at the store. I want you to consider reading. Stand up and let God see you working to change.
32 million adults in the United States cannot read. And for most of them, it's not that they lack the ability to learn how. They just have grown up in a system that has not allowed them to flourish. And what I want to talk about today is bringing that power back to our communities. It is 2020. We have the resources around us to gain this knowledge. And it comes down to supporting our brothers and sisters to get them back on track. We need to understand that there is power in new information. We cannot hang on to the same things that have been told to us for the last 10 to 15 years. It is a new day. We have new technology at our fingertips that can help our families and our communities. But we need to be able to understand it, to process it, and to take action on it. For those of you that can read, I challenge you in 2020 to dedicate time to help our communities become better. Reach out, volunteer, and donate to help bring education back to our homes. For those of you that cannot read, all that I ask is for you to reach out for help. There are people around you that are willing to help you reach success. This cannot be about pride or being self-conscious. This has to be about you. We want to help you learn how to read so that you can make the decisions you need in this life. It is 2020. No more excuses on either side. If you can, you need to help. If you can't, you need to ask. We are all here for each other. I am talking about our cities, our communities, and our families. Bring the power of education back home.
Reading is an activity like none other. The consequences of reading are extraordinary, just as the consequences of not reading are extraordinary, where you will live your life in darkness. You can sit before an orchestra where the music will thrill you to passion, and for a while you will soar. You can turn the radio on in your car and the music will carry you away, but there is nothing like reading. Reading will not only transport you to another place and time, reading will change the circumstances of your life forever. Reading will carry you to the future, where you will see possibilities, and reading will send you to visit the past, where you will see potential. Music provides a temporary high for your relief from your surroundings, whereas reading can lead you to a permanent relief from everything around you. Reading can change your reality, transforming you into a new person. You can read one paragraph and say, "Why not?" or "Of course." You can read one book and say, "I never thought of that," and read a second book and say, "If only I had known this before." You can see one word on the page and say to yourself, "That can be me. I have possibilities in my life." Once you begin reading in earnest, you will realize that you can learn equally from reading about how a man failed in his life, just as you can learn about how a man succeeded in his life. In fact, learning how a person failed is a good roadmap for success, because failure always provides you with an alternative point of view. Think of the man who decided to construct the street light, or to design the fire hydrant, or to design the light bulb. Where did these ideas come from? What was the source of their inspiration? One source of these inventions was reading. Reading allows for the accumulation of information. When this information is assimilated in the human brain, an idea is born. One invention sparks another invention that sparks another, great idea until finally man is raised to an enhanced state of existence. Reading provides the recipe for originality. A man says to himself, there must be a better way. He goes to the library trying to find that better way. He reads and reads and reads, assimilating information, looking for that better way. If he does not find that better way in the books he has read, he has still learned something. He has learned that he has to invent the better way. This time he begins to read books looking for ideas to help him as he invents.
A person goes to a textbook to learn how to build a house, or how to repair a car, or how to learn how to purchase a computer or buy tires. If the person cannot read or cannot read competently, he or she cannot successfully reach their goal. They will not learn how to purchase a computer or purchase the correct tires. They can ask other people how to do these things, but they are at the mercy of their friends to tell them the truth. We read the Bible to find out what God has to say and to learn how we are supposed to conduct our lives. If we cannot read, or if we cannot read competently, we cannot get the information we need from the Bible to manage our lives properly. A textbook or the Bible will not do us any good if we cannot read or if we cannot read competently. If you cannot read or you cannot read competently, the Bible is of no value to you. Listening to a sermon is not good enough. Going to Bible study and coming to church on Sunday, listening to a sermon, is not enough for you to get the type of information you need to accomplish the task of learning what God wants you to do. If you take notes during Bible study and you take notes during a sermon, you will be further ahead, but you are still dependent on another person interpreting Bible for you. You are depending on the integrity of the pastor to give you the right information. To solve this problem so that you will not be misled, you must learn to read, and you must learn to read competently. Relying upon someone else to give you the correct information to conduct your life is extremely dangerous. You will meet with disastrous results if you continue in this path. Consider this. You rely upon your girlfriend for information, so she suggests to you to go to the bar to meet a man. In a few months you learn you have AIDS, all because you let your girlfriend tell you how to solve one of life's problems, loneliness. This is why you must pray and ask the Lord for guidance when you select a friend. You should also pray when you select a church leader. If you cannot read or you cannot read well, you are placing your life in the hands of that person guiding your church. Your eternal salvation depends on the honesty of your pastor. And believe me, all pastors are not honest. Many pastors are in church for the money. Now, for example, the word with the most drama in the Bible is the little word sin. Sin is what church is all about. Sin is what man is not supposed to do. Well, the problem with this word is it is not clearly defined in our minds. Sin to us is murder, adultery, fornication. Sin is also something else. Sin is any behavior that blocks the blessing of God. You didn't know that, did you? This is the most important definition of sin. It is any behavior that blocks the blessing of God. Why? Because we all want to be blessed by God, correct. But on the other hand, God will bless anyone. So therefore, if you're not being blessed, you're doing something to prevent this blessing. So your behavior is blocking something. We all want God to bless us, right? We all want God to like us. We want God to be satisfied with our performance on the earth. We want God's blessing so we can live a good life. We want God's blessing so we can live a healthy and wealthy life and prosper on earth. No one wants to be poor, sick, and unhappy while living on earth. As Christians, we know our circumstances can change if we receive the blessing from God. Therefore, we strive to get God to like us so we can get this blessing. If you do not realize after reading your Bible there are specific sins that block the blessing of God, you have not read your Bible competently. Now, if you accept the doctrine of Jesus Christ and the edicts of God, then we know our lives can be filled with blessings. How many of you have read the Bible through at least once? How much of it did you remember? You recall most of what you read if you took notes, and only if you review those notes daily. Your mind must be in the habit of taking in information. Your mind must be flexible. You must be in the habit of taking in information, processing this information, and evaluating this information. Now, when you read the book of Chronicles, what was the greatest lesson you learned? Did you realize God wrestled the kingdom from the various kings because the kings refused to abide by his laws? The kings sinned. They refused to be obedient. God gave the kings over to their enemies when the kings did not do as God told them. Were you impressed by this? Did you see yourself in these situations? Or did you quickly read this section telling yourself you understand what the book of Chronicles was all about? Did you see what it you did not do as God told you to do, that God would wrestle your life away from you? Or did you think you could escape God's wrath by asking him to give you forgiveness, then continue doing as you please? Did you learn that disobedience is a sin? Did you realize that gossiping is a sin? That lying and cheating is a sin? Did you learn that God withdrew his protection from his people when people began having sex with women outside of marriage? Did you realize that when man did not repent of his sin, the results of the sin was visited upon the person's children for the generations to come? There are more sins than just adultery and murder. When you read the Bible, do you see the association of what is said in the Bible to the way that you are conducting your life? God said for you to teach your children of him. Do you do this? Or is your son in prison because you were too busy working overtime to pay proper attention to what he was doing with his free time? How much overtime did you work to purchase your motorcycle or to pay for your girlfriend's new car, working against the security of your children? How often did you stick your son in front of the television instead of giving him a book to read? How many times did you use the television as a babysitter so you could get your groove on? How often did you read to your son? How many books have you seen your son read? How many books are in your home? Did you repeatedly tell your son through example and through words that learning to read was his way out of poverty? That using a gun was not his way out of poverty? And did you tell him he did not have to learn how to play baseball or basketball or football to get out of poverty? Learning to read will get you out of poverty. Now we shall discuss why you should read. Reading exposes you to so many different things. This helps your imagination when it comes to creating and thinking. By reading, you are painting pictures of the story in your mind. Books can take you anywhere you want to go. When you are reading, you are focusing and concentrating on one thing. By sitting still and reading, you are training your body and mind to slow down, to relax, and to focus on what you are reading. This helps you to focus and concentrate on other activities because you are used to doing this. When you read a book, you are taking in all that the book is about: people, places, and things. When you read, you are using your memory muscle. This is the cerebrum part of the brain. Using this part of your brain helps your memory long term. Reading is the best, cheapest form of entertainment that you can do. Love your library and any bookseller because these books can open up your mind to a world that you've never imagined. Your language skills and literacy were developed when your parents read to you or talked to you. So You know that if you read to your children and the more that you talk to your children, this will help develop their language skills. Reading a book for something that you want to learn about saves you so much money. We all know how expensive it is to take classes at college. So why not spend time reading about what you are interested in? You can teach yourself from specific books. When you read, you develop fluency. Fluency is defined as the ability to read with speed, accuracy, and expression. Powerful and effective language. The more you read, the more fluent you become. It has been proven that reading makes you smarter. Readers display greater knowledge of how things work, vocabulary and language development, as well as information on people, places, and things. Now, there are benefits to reading. Reading stimulates you mentally. Studies have shown that staying mentally stimulated can slow the progress of Alzheimer and dementia, since keeping your brain active and engaged prevents you from losing this power. Just like any other muscle in your body, the brain requires exercise to keep it strong and healthy. So the phrase use it or lose it is particularly apt when it comes to your mind. Doing puzzles and playing games such as chess has been found to be helpful with cognitive stimulation. When you read and lose yourself in a book, you will reduce your stress. No matter how much stress you have at work, in your personal relationships, or countless other issues faced in daily life, it all will slip away when you lose your mind, lose yourself in a great book. A well written novel can transport you to other realms, other places, while an engaging article will distract you and keep you in the present moment, letting tension drain away and allowing you to relax. When you read, you gain knowledge. Everything you read fills your head with new bits of information, and you never know when it might come in handy. The more knowledge you have, the better equipped you are to tackle any challenges that you'll face. You can also expand your vocabulary by reading. The more you read, the more words you are exposed to, and they will inevitably make their way into your everyday vocabulary. Being articulate and well spoken is a great help in any profession, and knowing that you can speak to a higher up with self confidence can be an enormous boost to your self esteem. Speaking well can aid you in your career, as those who are well read, well spoken, and knowledgeable on a variety of topics tend to get promoted more quickly and more often than those with a smaller vocabulary and lack of awareness of literature, scientific breakthroughs, and global events. Reading books is vital for learning a new language. As a non native speaker, you gain exposure to words used in context, which will help you develop fluency. Also, you need to realize that reading will improve your memory. It will help you develop a stronger analytical thinking skill. Reading will also help improve your focus and concentration. Furthermore, your reading skills will improve. You will feel more at peace with yourself. Reading a book is the biggest change you will ever make in your life. One word or one experience from a book can spark an idea that can lead to wealth and happiness. Take time out from your busy day and read a book. Make one of the books you read the Holy Bible. Reading is important because it develops the mind. Understanding the written word is one way the mind grows in its ability. Teaching your children to read helps them develop their language skills. It also helps them to gain more confidence. Reading is important because it develops our thoughts, gives us endless knowledge and lessons to read while keeping our minds active. Reading books can help us learn, understand, and it can make us smarter. Not to mention the knowledge, vocabulary expansion, and thinking skills we develop. So read, read, read. Setting a purpose for reading will help keep you focused and engaged while reading. And it will give you a mission so that comprehension can be reinforced. Reading with a purpose motivates you and your children. Take the three books: The Devil's Whispers, If You Believe in God, You Don't Belong in Prison, and The Devil's Cauldron. Reading these books will change your life. You can go to the website touchedbythelight.us and read the first chapter of each of these books. Now, we will give you a preview of how these books can change your life. Today, we are going to continue our discussion on reading. During the last show, we talked about how reading affects people in their daily life, how reading affects people that commit crimes, and how reading affects people experiencing a social upheaval. Now you need to decide how reading is going to affect you. How is reading going to affect your life and the lives of your children? The first question that needs to be answered is, can you read? If you can read, how often do you read, and what do you read? If you can read and all you read are magazines in the doctor's office or an occasional comic book, then you're cheating yourself. You're missing out on life. Now, there are several reasons, why people do not read. Some of the reasons are people feel that books are too expensive. People feel that I don't have time. People say I don't know what to read. People say, why can't I just watch a movie? Reading keeps me up at night. Reading is too hard. Let us examine three of the reasons why people say that they do not read. We're going to look at the statement, reading is too hard, I don't have time to read, and books are too expensive. True, reading isn't always easy, but it doesn't have to be hard either. Try not to be intimidated when you read. People read books for many reasons, but you don't have to feel that it is an academic experience if you do not want it to be. Reading can be entertainment. It is one of the best reasons for reading. You can pick up a book and have an unforgettable experience. You can laugh, cry, sit on the edge of your seat. Another reason reading is hard to you is because you need to enlarge your vocabulary. You need to purchase a dictionary and a thesaurus and look up words that you are not familiar with when you are reading. Then you should incorporate these words in your everyday speech. Expand your vocabulary by associating with people who speak well. Stop being afraid of educated people. If you talk to educated people, some of that education may rub off on you. Now to the person who says, I don't have time. Think. You just don't have time to pick up a classic? Take a book with you everywhere, and instead of picking up your cell phone to talk to someone, why not open up a book? You can read while standing in line in a waiting room or doing a train commute. If longer works seems overwhelming, start with shorter stories or poetry. It's all about feeding your mind, even if it's only one bit at a time. This excuse really means you are cheating yourself. It is true, once in history, owning a book was once considered a luxury. These days, there are numerous sources for inexpensive literature. The internet has opened a whole new arena for readers. Literature, both old and new, is available on your handheld devices for free or deeply discounted prices. Of course, the most time-honored method for getting access to books of pretty much every description at little or no cost is your public library. You can pick and choose without having to purchase. You can borrow the books and read them at home or read them on the premises or at your job. And with the exception of a late fee or damage, reading from a library is usually free. The bargain section of your local bookstore is another place to find reasonably priced books. Some places do not mind if you read while you're sitting in the store in one of their comfortable chairs. Another great resource for inexpensive books is your local used bookstore. You can buy books cheaper, used and new, and you can also trade in books you've already read or books you know you'll never get around to reading. Some of the major discount retail chains have book sections that sell remain books on the cheap. Now I want you to think back to a problem you had once that you could not solve for yourself. You had to go to someone else for help. The reason why you had to go to someone else for help is because you did not have enough information to solve your own problem. You did not know enough. Maybe it's because you failed to read.
You must read. The lives of your children and the survival of your family depend on what you know and what you do not know. You cannot continue to conduct your life making life-changing decisions based on what you learned 10, 20, or 30 years ago. You must obtain new information through reading. You cannot depend upon talk radio or conversations with your friends to obtain new information. You must begin reading for your survival. The world has changed. You are behind. Admit it. Now change. Whether you like reading is not important. What is important is that you must do more with your life. You say you are a good mother, but are you? If you are not reading, taking in new information to incorporate into your life to become a new person, then you are not a good mother. Why? Because children read when they see their parents read. Children mimic their parents because of their parents' example. Your children need to see you read. Your child will learn to value what you value. If you're not taking in new information, what makes you think your children are growing intellectually? It is not nice to be told you may not be a good mother because you are not reading. But it is not time to be nice. It is time for Black people to begin reading in earnest. Nothing is more important than reading. Nothing. Books should be everywhere in your home and car. Your children should be encouraged to read every day and not watch television. Their time is too valuable to be wasted watching mind-numbing shows or playing video games. You should have your child tested to make certain he or she can read competently. Reading competently means your child can not only tell you what he or she has read, your child can explain what he or she has read in writing. If your child cannot read, he or she has no time for TV. You must stop getting your nails done, purchasing wigs, or $100 purses, and find your child a tutor. If your child cannot read, the only thing you should be doing with your money is paying for a tutor. We are inventive and we are creative. All we need is to catch up with technology, which we can only do through reading.